Why do you hang around with the worst crowd, the worst crowd? It's gonna hurt me, 'cause you're with the worst.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to what I believe is episode 26 of Third Man In, brought to you by Head Check Health. It's Mike Hickey here, and I am joined, as always, by...
It's Charles.
And, of course...
TR.
We're here today. We've got a really cool one coming up, and it kind of ties in a little bit to our sponsorship with Head Check Health. This is a guy coming on to chat to us who's had a history of concussion problems. It's been well documented. There was a really great Globe and Mail piece on Mr. Rob Frid a couple years back, and it was really great. We've already recorded the interview with him. It was really great to chat to him about everything he's doing. He's working with an organization called Medicinal MyWay, as well as a couple other things like Athletes for Care and StrainPrint and a couple other things like that. So it's really cool to talk to him about all that stuff. And that's a little bit of ways. We got a bunch of actual like hockey transactions and stuff that happened. Luckily, we taken some time. The bit of time off we took.
The full week we gave a break of a week in the off season, and finally it's like, transactions happen, so you guys have something to talk about again.
Yeah, well, we did the whole thing where we recorded a couple episodes in advance and then like rolled them out, and then we still ended up with like 1 week with nothing happening. Yeah. So, but that gave us a bit of time to like buffer up like actual shit to talk about that's happening in the current world of hockey.
This is all new news today for the more. How are we going to do this? We're going to go backwards and like start from the Lucha.
I don't care, whatever you want to do.
All right, let's start with let's start.
Go all over the place.
All right.
We go chronologically for the interviews. We can go all over the fucking place for this part.
All right, well, today we're recording this. It's July 29th. So yeah, today one of the bigger trades happened. Was TR on? There we go. Back in. No. Oh, we got some headphone jack problems.
You good? Can you hear? No. That one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That should work.
I think we're all good.
Yeah.
All right. So today, Nikita Gusev from the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who were in a little bit of a cap crunch, couldn't get him signed, got dealt over to Jersey for a couple of picks. Jersey then threw $9 million, $4.5 per season at him. And it was just last week that Shiro, GM Ray Shiro of the Jersey Devils, said he kind of wasn't done shopping yet. So as the internet tends to do, everyone was saying, oh, they're going to offer sheet Braden Point, or they're going to offer sheet Mariner, or they're going to offer sheet Line. But they went out and did a little bit of shopping today. Gusev, they've done a lot of shopping this offseason, a lot of additions there. You got to think they make the playoffs this year.
You got to, but I mean,
I think the Penguins are coming out. I think that
who are you thinking of making the playoffs?
The New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, I think it's you guys make that prediction one where I guess there's half a chance.
I think there's a better chance. I think that they've put themselves in a position where they're gonna finish.
We don't even know what their team is yet, boys.
Yeah.
They've added a bunch of pieces.
They've added a bunch of pieces,
they
but
got
like
Cacao, is that how it's said? That's one of the funnest hockey names.
I'm just
Zalapsky.
I'm trying to remember where they landed last year in terms of
pretty dismal.
Yeah, but I mean they're gonna pick up
the year before they made the playoffs, and what's his name? Taylor Hall was MVP.
Yeah,
right. I mean they might.
Goaltending is another thing, though. Who have they got playing net these days? I know they had a shared assignment last year.
They sent off.
I don't know, but if I could give you 5 teams that I know are going to make the playoffs halfway through the summer, I know they got a decent. You know what I mean? Like
fair enough.
They're okay. I'm sure there's going to be another 10 moves. Hopefully, it's not to their best players. Not that I give a shit about New Jersey Devils. I don't know how we got there, but I was daydreaming for the first part of it. That's why. But
I was talking about the Gusev trade. They traded for Nikita Gusev. Yes.
Yeah, good move. You know, they might. Who are they in against now? Right. So you got to look at their division, and you got to look at all.
That's why they're in the Met. They're in the Metro division. So I got a feeling that I think the Islanders are going to regress a little, and I got it.
Are they though?
The
Islanders just did better than they thought without Tavares.
I think they're going to regress a little bit, and I also think that the Pittsburgh Penguins are probably going to regress a little bit too. So I think.
What's your reason for the Islanders regressing?
Islanders, I think they had anomaly last year, and also they don't have Robert Leonard. They don't have the goaltending they had this year.
So they lost Tavares. They
Yeah.
got better, and you don't think they're... So all those young guys who played more, and they got Barzal getting even older and better, but you're going to say you think that
I think they regressed
last
a
year
little.
was an anomaly?
Yeah. I think
So the first year of their possible existence without Tavares, you think was an anomaly?
Not an. I think
Could
so.
be. I'm just...
I think goaltending had a lot to do with it, and he's gone. Obviously, a big part of it is Barry Trotz.
Could be. I mean, I would never
huge-
bet on him last year, but
huge-
now I'm not going to bet on him.
Huge
against
part of
him.
it. Huge part of it was Barry Trotz, but
He's still there,
They
isn't he?
went. And, he is. Yeah, they went and picked
Okay,
up.
well-
Is it Varlamov is their goalie now? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not sold on him. I'm not really. Well, I think that they're not going to get that goaltending, that save percentage that they had from Robin Leonard, and maybe they make the playoffs. I think the Penguins are going to take a step back in a big way. They just lost Phil Kessel, in my opinion. There's no winning that trade. They shipped him out
But
for Galchenyuk.
again, guys, this is fucking July, man. These teams, they won 3 cups in the last 8 years. They're going to know what to do.
That's
I'm not
true.
shitting on your opinion totally, but
Yeah.
when we say they are going to or they aren't going to, with
I just
Like, I
said
mean,
my
in all
opinion.
fairness,
left before
in
the
all
season.
fairness,
I
two of the teams that you just mentioned not only played one series against each other, but they both ended up getting swept out of the rounds they lost
Yeah.
and stuff. I mean, anything can happen.
But on
Here-
Pittsburgh,
here's
I
the
see
thing.
that as a step backward. For the Islanders, I see it as a step forward.
Yeah, they made it to the second round. When was the last time the fucking New York Islanders made it to the second round of the playoffs?
Again,
Without Tavares. Yeah.
some of those young guys wouldn't have gotten to play because they would have kept the Tavares pattern. They wouldn't have. They would have gone with an older. They lost someone else too. I forget. There's an older fucking guy, not Tavares, but they made room for some younger players, right? Now, obviously, Barzal's going to play because he's unfucking believable.
yeah.
But anyway, they did pepper their lineup. There's more young guys that got games in the NHL. I think they'll be more ready. For Pittsburgh, I don't know. At some point, the panic button got to be hit. All the best players are getting older, although I love all of them. All
Same.
of the
Oh,
above.
I am a huge Sidney Crosby. I would
Yeah.
I would say geek over fan. But there's only so much you can do. I think the response they got rid of Kessel, that's how I'm wording it. They never traded Phil Kessel. They fucking got rid of him. Which
But
I
in
think
their
is,
mind, right? They
Yeah.
did it for a
Phil
reason.
Pula, I think, is who
So
you're
in their
talking
mind,
about.
they might think
Yeah.
they're better.
They picked up who was it? Chris Tanev. They gave a 6-year contract to on the 30th. I think it was Chris Tanev. The Penguins gave a 6-year contract to.
That seems excessive.
Yeah, it was like
For
I
Tanev,
think it
but
was
you
like
know, whatever.
$4 million or something. I think it was something kind of.
I don't even feel comfortable now making a solid bet until 2 months into the
Fair.
year.
It's
Yeah.
July 29th, and
only because-
it's because I'm a little bored. I'll be
Only
honest.
because, though. Only because, like, all these, there are players now literally back. I don't want to use back in the day anymore. Let's say 10 years ago plus, okay?
Mhm.
Then you would know there was probably going to be 20 rookies make the NHL, probably 4 under 20 years old, right? Now you have no idea. There could be a guy going in the 8th round. He's 18. He might make it.
Yeah.
You have no idea. And then not only might he make it, he might get 20 goals. So I find it really, like, you got to do a lot more homework. Just like I said, back in the day, Montreal didn't know what I looked like, so they clearly only drafted me on looking at stats.
Yeah.
But you can't do that anymore. There's just more. The game is still played similar, but the roles have expanded. Back in the day, there was more. You're a third liner. You're a fighter. Sit there. You're a scorer. Go on the power play. Do it now. Score. But now there's just so many different things. I mean, I just heard Jason Spezza say, I'm on this team for my two-way play, my defense. Again, are you fucking kidding me? But for him to take notice of defense, clearly that more players on each team have a role, have an all-round role. If you score, it's great. There's clearly going to be 2 power play lines. But after that, man, anybody can do anything. And Daniel Tkachuk can go out there and I use it because he's my favorite two-way player there is in the game right now. But, you know, he might go 10 shifts without throwing 1 hit, and he might get 2 power play goals in those shifts. Or Johnny Gaudreau might go out there and block a shot, or Mitch Marner is a great example on Pittsburgh.
Marner did a
You
great
know,
job.
years ago, a guy with
little
that much
prick.
talent would be told not
Don't ever do
to block
that
a shot.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like I still love my favorite though is still Marner's quote after that. Like after that game, it was what, game 6 or game?
It wasn't game 6, game 5.
It was game 5, right? Because they won. They actually won that game. It was game 5, and when asked about it, he said, "Well, that's what dentists are for." Like,
Yeah.
hell of a quote, right?
His face.
How does he not have a contract right now?
His face was. We're not going there today. His face was in one of the worst positions to block a shot too. When he went down, I was like, "Oh,
he dove face first to block the shot."
Literally in Newfoundland, we say face and eyes into it. He went face and eyes into it.
Now I got something to say.
Okay.
To change topic a bit, just because we're going to get to the Lucic thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I'm excited to get to this. So Lucic for Neal.
Yeah,
But
1
just
for 1.
in that year, Lucic signed a free agent deal in 2016. So I'm just going to read you the first 10 names that I read that signed free agent. This is what I'm saying. Like, looking back and looking forward, do you lock these guys up for long-term deals? Now,
Before you get to the list, there's one guy I remember where I was when he signed, and I'll be like, that guy. No. When he signed for a fairly long-term contract. He was a little bit older. He'd been bounced around a fair bit, found some longevity. And I remember looking at the contract that was signed and said, what
now, this
fuck?
isn't every. I'm just going to read a few. I don't know of everybody that signed.
Okay, I'll bring them up if you don't touch on them.
Because I'm curious, like, would you do this again? Because I often say, the biggest one being Rick DiPietro signed that 15-year deal, right? That's 15 years ago now. I'm just saying that was the first of the crazy things for me. I'm sure everybody has a contract they can point to, right? But I point to that one as blowing my mind. That this year, so 16, David Schlemko signed a 4-year. I'll only name guys that are still under contract. Yeah. Of course, 1 year and 2 years are already over. Dale Weiss signed a 4-year for $9.4 million. James Reimer signed a 5-year for $17 million. Is he still worth that? Andrew Ladd, 7-year deal.
That's the one. For
$38.5 million.
I could not get over it.
Louis Eriksson, 6 years, $36 million. Franz Nielsen, 6 years, $31 million. Milan Lucic, 7 years, $42 million. David Backus, 5 years, $32 million. Now, are those guys? Now, Eric Stahl, 3-year, $10 million.
That's
now,
a great deal.
But again, Stahl's is over, but he ended up signing. Or Troy Brower, 4-year, $18 million. Right? Most of the guys I mentioned, you'd never in your right fucking mind give them more than 2.
That was one of the worst free agent crops. And the biggest reason that you could tell it was a worse free agent crop is because during the entire free agency period, everyone was speaking about someone that, frankly, we didn't know was going to the open market or not. That was the Stamkos summer. That was the Stamkos sweepstakes. Of course, Stamkos didn't go to the free agent market. I don't even know if he met with teams at the end. He signed something like the first or second day. He signed the day PK Subban got traded. And all of a sudden, I think it was like everybody had all this money saved up in case they had a chance to speak to Stamkos, and they were going to the store anyway.
Yeah, and I'm only counting those. My point is that I really don't think, you've got to be pretty fucking sure if you're signing a guy to a 5 or 6 year contract, man.
If you sign anyone over the age of 29 to a 6-year contract in the NHL, today's NHL, you're out of your mind. You're out of your goddamn mind.
Those even of 3 or 4, they're not everybody, but the guys I just mentioned, there was guys there with 4-year contracts that weren't very good. Now that same summer, Tom Gilbert signed 1 year, $1.4 million with the Kings. Vern Fiddler, 1 year, $1.25 million. These are good signings, I think.
Friend of the show, Teddy Purcell, 1 year, $1.6 million.
Yeah, right, and that's what he was worth at the time, and he
Brian
signed it.
Campbell, 1 year, 1.5.
Exactly.
That Brian Campbell
Chad
signing
Johnson.
came out late too. That Brian Campbell signing happened in late September, and one of my friends was immediately grabbed him in his fantasy pool. He just was like, okay, nice. He's actually going to play this year. Boom, and he won that pool.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm a GM, again, what this tells me is that a lot of these guys, I guess, you know that going in, if you're making a run for the Cup in 2 years and you say, fuck it, I'm going to sign a guy to a 6-year, I know I'm going to fucking take a shit on the back part of that deal. But a lot of these aren't that case, especially Edmonton's. Now, when we get, so we're going to get here, and everybody, we're going to get here because I'm steering the ship here. Everybody is shitting all over Milan Lucic. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the other stance now. Ooh. This is because clearly James Neal is a friend, more of a friend than fucking Lucic is. I only met him once. James, yeah, I mean, I guess I've only never even met him. Just sends me messages here and there. He likes our show, follows ball hockey a little bit, and during the year, we communicate back and forth. And I didn't think he was in a great situation. I know that there was a bit of turmoil with the coach, And I think real deal's got to play a lot of minutes, and he's a pure scorer, so, you want him to play. Now, I know what you're going to say. Okay, so he's going to the Oilers, and you got a pure scorer who only had 6 or 7 goals last year, and he's going to play with McDavid and all that, and or he probably will. Whichever. The Oilers, say what you want. Their first 6, 7 guys are pretty stacked. Like, even if he's on the second line and gets a bit of power play time, Neil will probably, and he at least can, get to 20 goals. And the contract he's under,
There's a fun asterisk with that one, too.
Yes, and we'll get to that in a sec. But Lucic, now, going the other way.
Can someone call him Lucic, please?
That's not his real name, is it?
No, it's what Don Cherrios calls him.
Okay.
That's why I brought that up.
I was just going to say, have I been, because it's Teddy Purcell, really, and I call him Purcell.
No, it's just I'm being an
Anyway,
idiot.
so Lucic is coming the other way. Now, outside of the obvious, having a guy like Tkachuk who's full of piss and vinegar and is going to drop his gloves a lot, and is kind of what Lucic was 6 or 7 years ago. Very effective. He's up around that 30-goal area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, again, what Lucic got. I know it was around there, though. He probably got 30 one year, 25. And, you got guys like Johnny Gaudreau, and you've got your better players. Again, a lot of them are physical. So, he can, and he wants to succeed. Milan Lucic is hearing, he knows he had a shitty year last year. Now, I watched him more than once, and I didn't think he was the same player he's in Boston, but it's still there. He's older, but still, there's something there. And I think the Oilers, put it this way, the Flames have a better chance of harnessing whatever's in there out, because when you get in a situation for 3 years, it gets stale. And you're out there and you're trying hard and you're hearing boos, and everybody's saying, what the fuck's he on our team? I don't care what happens. Any other situation is better. So one team got rid of a guy that's a great scorer. I'm getting somewhere, but I think it's good for both teams. But better than for Calgary than you think. So James Neal is there, and guys are in the room, and they look up to him. And if you're a player, you're looking at James Neal, and you're going, fuck. Like, he's in the Stanley Cup final last year. The guy's got a cup. I mean, he's a great player. He's a leader. And I don't know if it feels comfortable for me to go out as a 20-year-old and be playing ahead of him and have him in arguments with the coach. So it's probably better for him to go, and we'd all love him more because he's going to succeed somewhere else. And we also got a guy coming in that's a team guy. If you know one thing about Lucic, off the ice, on the ice, he's a team guy. So they will at least get a better attitude. Again, I don't think James has a bad attitude. I just mean like me when I was in a fucking tiff with Michelle Tyrion. It's tough to hide that. You might have a good attitude, but it just seems bad because of the situation you're in.
It's not a bad attitude as much as it's a fresh start for somebody else.
Yeah,
It's a clean slate.
It's a cancerous argument in the room between the coach and you. They're always going to be there, whether the players like it or not. So to have each traded for each other, I think, is good. But I think Lucic, what did he have last year? How many goals?
3.
Lucic had 6.
He had 6.
That was close.
And Neal had close. But I think Lucic will get more this year. And I don't think he's going to get the chance to play as much as Neal. So obviously Neal, in my mind, is going to get more points. And he probably should. And I think he'll probably help the Oilers in offensive ways way more than Lucic will. But
Neal only had 7.
I know he only had 7. But I think he'll get more with the Oilers, and he's going to be put on those lines, whereas Lucic is going to be coming in and at this point playing a different role. But a lot of people are calling him a dinosaur. I'm telling you this, I don't want to shit on anybody in particular, but I watched TSN, I watched Sportsnet, I listened to a lot of shows. I'm just covering the whole gamut there, and a lot of people were really down. They said, well, the game today is just too fast for a guy like Lucic, and the game passed him by. This is the thing, his fucking age passed him by. The game was like this 4 fucking years ago. The game was like this 5 years ago. What made Lucic was that he could play this game and still look like a fucking freak of nature, right? He's out there hitting everybody. He's all hunched over like the hunchback of Notre Dame. He's 6'3" or 4. He's gonna fucking kill you if he fucking runs into you. I mean, the guy just physically was a presence, and he did keep up for a while.
He has no neck you can speak of.
Yeah, exactly. Which is intimidating when you're playing
It's
against
impressive to be 6'3" and have no neck at all.
I think he actually has a condition. I think I read about that.
Well, now I feel bad. Okay,
just
go on,
like
TR.
Ryan Clough, who they said, he can't skate. But the game changed a long fucking time ago. The first time all that started changing was when the red line and the hooking and holding came out in 2004, 2005. In the last bunch of years, they've really taken fighting out, but it's been out for a while here. We've been talking about Ryan Reeves as a resident tough guy for about 5 years, and it's all good. Should be. I don't think there should be one player to go out there and just fight. I do think there's a room for it. We'll get into that another time. But for Milan Lucic, He knows if there's a time, this is it. If anybody fucks with Johnny Gaudreau, if he even looks at him, but at the same time, or etc. I just picked because he's he's the guy that needs the most help.
Looks at him.
Yeah, I mean it. Just breathe down his fucking neck. Now, the other thing is, there's really not much of that anymore anyway. And I do think that Milan Lucic, and let's not forget, Calgary are a good team. The Oilers suck. Okay? Now, the Oilers want to get better, and we're really speculating, though, when we're saying, James Neal, some people say he's going to get 35 again. I hope he does. But you got to realize it's going to be a challenge for him and the Oilers because the Oilers aren't as good as you fucking think they are. No. I don't know who thinks all of a sudden that they're good because they're not. The Calgary dropped the ball in the playoffs, could have been in the Stanley Cup fucking final here. So let's be honest here. If I was Lucic, I'd rather be a small-time contributor on a fucking great team than the sit. Again, I love James Neal. I think he's going into a great situation, and I think he will succeed. But let's not all be down on Milan Lucic like we are. Let's give him a chance to fail. If we're 30 games in and he's doing fuck all and he can't keep up with the play, fine. But I think he's going to be a good third or fourth liner.
My opinion of that particular trade, which I love a good 1-for-1.
That's all Edmonton does.
The conditions is kind of fun. It's if Neal scores more than 21 and Lucic, it's a third round pick in 2020. If Neal scores more than 21 and Lucic has 10 less goals, 10 fewer goals than whatever Neal ends up with, then the pick flips to the other team. But I personally think what's going to happen here is you're going to see Lucic have a better personal year as a result of like going on this new team, and you're going to see Neal contribute and help that Oilers team be overall better.
Guys,
I think the trade's going to work for Lucic on a personal level and for the Oilers on an organizational level.
And you're going to see both of them smile more.
Yeah,
they're both going to be in a good situation.
Well, I mean, with like Neal he's got a great one time, and for him, there's a couple really good. I don't know if you heard about them, but the Oilers have a couple good playmaking centers, and they've had not really a whole lot to dish it off to. So a guy like Neal is going to pick up a few extra points that way.
One
it's overall just going to be, I think, a good environmental thing for that team.
One thing I want to bring up about James Neal going to Calgary is that did anyone realize that you're bound to have an off year at one point in time? That guy played in back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. Yeah. So when you're signing as a free agent, not only are you playing, say, 82 games for most guys, 82 games, I don't know if he's hitting the full season, he might have missed, 10 or 12 games. Then you got to add on 20 playoff games each year, 24 playoff games. If you're going to have a bad year, you're going to have a bad year hard because your body's just fucking burnt. You also do back-to-back finals in 3 different cities. You're talking Nashville to Vegas to Calgary in 3 years, and we're talking about 100
and Pittsburgh shortly before that.
I mean,
Dallas. He's been on teams. I'm not looking at Hockey DB.
He was on Pittsburgh for 4 years, though. But I mean,
that's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games played for 3 different teams in the span of 3 seasons. Of course, you're going to have a bit of a struggle here.
And he's 1 year off. 1 second. Yeah. James Neal, Lucic. Again, I will admit he's been in the. I don't want to use the word downward spiral either. He's been regressing as a scorer for a few years. I really do think that Neal had an off year.
Yeah.
That's the case I'm making here. Yeah. That's the case. I say when I read about this trade, I thought, oh boy, geez, been a while since the Oilers won one, isn't it?
And what's fucked is like what you were saying was because you forget like they made the cut finals the year that his last year in Nashville, but they also made a deep run the year before.
Yeah.
So they did 20 games with Vegas in the playoffs, 22 with Nashville, and 14 the year before with Nashville.
Every year he plays a full football season in the playoffs at least.
Yeah.
Right, and he's coming in ready for smiles on his face. Good fucking attitude with the young guys. I mean, it's tough, man, all year round.
He played through a wrist injury, a pretty bad one in that Nashville final, too. And that's Nashville, depending on, your outlook on some things. He played hurt in the playoffs, and then it came time for the expansion draft, and Nashville handed him over to Vegas.
I've often thought this, guys.
That's a bit dirty in my mind, but it worked out for him in Vegas. He got paid. He got a good contract. He had a great year and went to the finals again.
I've got a lot of friends that are mutual friends with both those guys, and I hear they're both great leaders.
Yeah.
And it's hard to lead if you're getting shit on. It's hard to lead if you're not playing. It's hard to lead if you're in any kind of squabble with the coach or the GM. And there's 2 guys that want ever so much to help their teams, and they were just kind of they ran out of leash.
Oh, I'd imagine you get burned out fast.
Yeah,
if you've got a guy coming to you, what the fuck am I paying you whatever million for? You only got 6 goals, and then you've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry or Chuck with a radio show talking about you in the Edmonton region. You're not gonna be as motivated to help.
So
you're just gonna get tired fast.
2 of those guys, they're just sitting there ready, like open books, just ready to help the young guys lead and chip in the odd goal. If Lucic gets it around the net, I mean, I'm telling you, I would have him. You laugh. I'd have him in front of the net on the power play. He can make passes. He's good. Like again, I'm talking vintage Lucic, but I wouldn't have him killing penalties. I wouldn't. But on the power play, you stand there and you tip it in.
Yeah.
You outstrength the guy in front. You often take. I mean, oftentimes. Chara goes up in front of the net. Have you ever seen when Boston does that?
Yeah.
People ask me, why the fuck's he up there? I'm like, if you don't know why he's in front of the net, you're not a fucking hockey fan.
Yeah.
Right? Will you do that with Lucic? I'm not saying it. I say once a game. I say if you get 6 power plays, put Lucic out for the last 20 seconds of one of them.
Yeah.
Just once in a while. Give his confidence a little bit. He'll turn around and go, geez, coach got me on the power play.
Yeah.
And after the game, give him the fucking hard hat award or give him whatever. Milan, we don't care about goals and assists this year. You've had to think about that for too long. You lead the boys, and if you score, you score.
Here's the thing.
What do you think he does this year? What do you think he gets?
I think he gets at least 10.
I think he gets at least 10.
I got him at 12. I'll take the high. I'll take 12 here.
Well, all I was going to say is that one of the other things that happened with Lucic when he went to Edmonton, and part of what the whole problem with his whole tenure in Edmonton has been, is that he was brought in to Edmonton as like known to be a tough guy. He was brought in to be like the Marty McSorley for McDavid. But the thing is that with the type of game that the NHL is now, you don't need a fucking Marty McSorley for McDavid.
No, but I think he's still got more Messier in him than McSorley.
I think so too.
I think it's there.
But like I think so too. I think like that's always kind of been the type of player he is. But the problem is that I mean, we've talked about it before. Edmonton's always been kind of stuck in the rut of thinking of their heyday in the 80s. And that's kind of the archetypes they're trying to fill. And that was the role they were trying to put him in. But it's like, how are you supposed to fill that role if that role's not there?
And the other thing is that McDavid is the fastest fucking motherfucker that ever put on skates. It's one thing to say this guy. It's one thing to say, and that chick. It's one thing. It's one thing though to say that you can't keep up to the play. It's another thing to put him with fucking absolute, fucking rocket. I do think he's slower. I'm not a fool, but I still think he can play with. And like I said, once you get into a situation, it's confidence.
Now they're going to put him out there with Johnny Gaudreau.
Well,
poor fuck.
I do think that early on he'll prove himself.
Yeah.
Milan Lucic, if I'm not mistaken, he's the kind of guy. I heard him on Spit and Chicklets, I think it was. He got in a fight his first fucking exhibition game. He got in a fight his first game. Again, it's not because he's all pissed off all the time, but he's going to send a message. And I do think the first person that says boo to Johnny Gaudreau is going to get a broken nose. I think that's going to. I don't think it's going to happen all year though, as much as you think. I don't think he's going to have to because the game changed. But he's going to be there just in case. And again, I think he can help you. I think he can actually help the third or fourth line. And I would put him in front of the net on the fucking power play. Once every game or two, give him some confidence, and by the end of the year, that'll translate to 4 or 5 goals, and I think he'll get at least 5 regular strength. That's what I think. And I don't think 15's out.
Okay. See, I took
you think there's a chance this pick is flipping, is what you're telling me.
All right.
I think Neil is going to do better no matter what. But I think there's some. I think Lucic is better than people think he is.
So it's if Neil the pick is transferred if Neil scores 21 goals or more, and Lucic scores 10 fewer.
Yes, I think both will happen. I think Neil might even get 25, 26. I know this is going to sound fucking insane but if he did even last year, if he gets 6 or 7, 2 years in a row, definitely 3. But he didn't. He was removed, and halfway through the year, he got in a very verbal argument with the coach. It was on fucking TV. If you're seeing him beak out on TV, what happens in the fucking room?
Yeah.
And if that's going on in the room, you're not going to play.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at evidence that it's not just James Neal, it's the situation he was in.
Yeah.
And now you're going to take him and put him with arguably the best player in the National Hockey League. I don't know. And I say arguably because, again, there's so many, but and I don't think it's a runaway. But it's Connor fucking McDavid, and it's whoever. It's whoever. You throw, I don't know, Nugent Hopkins or whatever you want to say.
There's a lot of areas that he could play over there.
Totally.
I think 25 is, I think that's a bit high. I'm going to give him, 21, 23 area. Not 25.
So over the course of the year, 23, yes. Not 25.
Not 25. Not
So
getting
like
the-
of
hang
all
on, hang on.
of 20
If
of
he gets
82
20
games,
If he gets
82 games, how many
25,
minutes
two of
is
them
that?
are empty netters.
So you're saying yes.
excluding empty netters, he gets 23.
Don't get me wrong. I think 25 is high for Neil. Do I think he can get it? Yes. I think 15 is high for Lucic. Do I think he can get it? Yes, I do. It wouldn't surprise me. What would surprise me is if Lucic gets 5 again, or 3, or whatever the fuck he got, and if Neil gets 7 or 8.
again. Yeah, I would
it was
be
6
yeah.
and 7 were their numbers
That would
last year,
surprise me.
and Lucic actually finished with more points. He had more assists.
Wow.
Well, there you go. Well,
So-
again, you're not going to impress me with assists on Connor McDavid's team, though. Those are all dump-ins and shots on net that came out for rebounds.
Secondary assists.
But I love him, and I think he can do it, and there's a champion inside on both of those guys, and I think both teams will be I think it's great for both teams.
I think so too. I think it's a great trade. And like I said, I like a good 1-for-1. We had talked about trying to do our Head Check Health ad that we always do. We throw it to a TR pre-record. We talked about trying to incorporate it as like a conversational thing because it was a little bit more involved with the guest. But I think I got to pee right now, so I'm gonna run the ad.
throw to it.
I'm just
You're
gonna run
just
the
gonna
ad,
run the
or
ad?
you guys can chat about it.
Run the ad, and then we'll talk about it after.
Concussions are serious business. Concussions and post-concussion syndrome had a huge effect on my career. Whether you're a player, a concerned parent, a coach, a risk manager, or an executive, they're a major area of concern. HeadCheck Health has developed software and services that improve the way concussions are assessed, tracked, and managed at all levels of sport. Their goal is to create a safer environment of play by giving better tools to the individuals responsible for documenting and assessing concussions and providing better data to administrators to make real health and safety improvements. HeadCheck currently works with organizations across the country like the Canadian Junior Hockey League, BC Hockey, Rugby Ontario, the Western Lacrosse Association, and more to advance their concussion management practices. If you're interested in learning more how HeadCheck can help your team or organization, please visit headcheckhealth.com or email info@headcheckhealth.com. That's headcheckhealth.com or info@headcheckhealth.com and tell them TR sent you.
So another one that happened this week that was kind of interesting was Clarkson for Sparks.
We've got Leafs news. Buckle up. There's Leafs news.
And it's just a weird cap thing. And it's one of those that like annoys me. I saw somebody, like I was saying to Chuck earlier, I saw somebody, I think it was like Dangle or somebody posted on Twitter saying how like the NBA this offseason has had all these really exciting blockbuster signings and trades and all these big things happen that are just kind of making people sit back and go, oh my gosh, the league's really going to change. Who knows what's going to happen next year? The whole, the whole layout and everything is going to be different. The landscape's changing. Whereas like in the NHL, like other than the rare like Lucic Neal 1-for-1 trade that still has a weird conditional pick involved, for the most part, like anything interesting in the NHL requires like a PowerPoint from fucking Cap Friendly to explain it, and that was what the tweet was. And it's true. Like all like right now, like all these deals are, just including a bunch of nonsense just to kind of get around cap shit.
We'll call that a trade with air quotes. Like that's a trade with air quotes. I think that there's going to be a lot of well, hang on. No, I'm going to rephrase that. Smarter people than me who are paid for this talk about how there's going to be a lot of this in the next season and the next off season until the new TV deal cuts in. Because when the TV deal cuts in, it's going to go back to the days of like the Wild Wild West. The cap is going to jump up by potentially $8 million, and people are just going to go nuts spending money again. But until that, the reason they went, my favorite part of the Dave Clarkson trade is because when the Leafs signed Dave Clarkson, there were very, very clearly two camps of people and Leafs fans. One who were like, oh my God, we got Dave Clarkson, holy shit. And then the other people were like, holy fuck, we've signed Dave Clarkson for how much and how long? And the tagline was always, well, the Leafs don't need to worry about the 7th year of the Clarkson deal. That was always the tagline. Of course, 2 years into the deal, he gets traded for Nathan Horton. Nathan Horton never, for what I know, I don't think he's ever worn a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, period. I know he's never reported to camps or anything like that. He was just simply a contract LTIR'd. And now Clarkson is back at the expense of exodusing Garrett Sparks, who we all knew was going to go somewhere. Now, that's where it gets the clap-friendly... clap-friendly. Jesus Christ, no, not clap-friendly. The cap-friendly. So smarter people than me have figured out that there's a formula in terms of what happens when you incur LTIR contracts and what you can spend over the cap. It's not a 1-for-1, dollar-for-dollar value. There's a complex math formula. I couldn't be bothered to figure it out. Somebody on Sportsnet did the due diligence, and somebody on Cap Friendly did it. And by doing this, somehow the Leafs have, I think it's come October 2nd, when those contracts, in addition to Dermott and Hyman contracts, get put on LTIR. Hyman and Dermott, of course, are probably not going to start the season until December. The Leafs have around $13 million to play with. So now you got to ask yourself, well, where is that going to go?
It's going to go to Mitch Marner's
I
pocket.
believe, yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
I know,
anybody's
like,
still,
that's the thing
if
is I
anybody's
don't
still
give a
awake,
Honestly, it's to me, it's just like removing fucking screws. Or
if anybody's still
But
awake,
like
I
bone
think
screws, right? Like not
Yeah.
just like it's
Bone screws, that's
because
what I
not only is it boring to watch, it's fucking painful to think about. Like
It's painful.
it's just like I just
but
don't
this is what
care.
sums it up to me. I never. Well, yeah, the whole like finances. I mean, come on, and I mean, who really wants to get into it? But if you're going to talk specifically Clarkson, I think it was bullshit anyway. He had a lucky year. Look at his numbers.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I don't even need to look, but if you look at his numbers in junior and all the way up, the AHL, he was okay. I think he might have had 15 goals, maybe 21 year in the A. But I remember he had a lucky year in the NHL. He had
20,
like 31
22 goals, I think.
I think he might even had 30.
He had 30 in
But
2012,
nothing close to that any other year.
15 since, and then the highest after that was 10.
Exactly. So it was a lot. I mean, whoever's going to go out and sign a guy that, and even I don't know who he played with that year. He had 30. He's probably on
Jersey.
the first line.
Devils.
Well, I knew the Devils, but I don't know exactly who.
Oh, who he played with? Yeah.
But you know, like
Sorry.
to me, if I'm going to give you any 7-year contract, even if it's for $100,000 a year, I want to see you do something. That's an exaggeration, but you know what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I'm going to sign you long term, I want to see that you did it more than 1 year. I mean, he'd been playing recorded hockey for like 10 or 12 years at that point, and that's. I mean, I know it's 30 in the NHL, but to just commit 7 fucking years.
The year
Christ.
prior to the 30 goal
Poetic,
season,
the 7th year is back there in my
I
opinion.
know he had like 15 or 17 or something, didn't he?
he had 17, 11, 12. The year before the 30 goal season, in 82 games, he had 12 goals, 6 assists, minus 20.
So
Like,
right.
But like the other
It's a
fucked up
tough
thing is like he
call.
hasn't played since 2016.
That's the
like,
the goofy part. I
That's
suppose
the goofy part. That's
everything
I
that
just never did think he was that good. Even as did they sign him as a tough guy? He used to go around and fucking turtling. I don't know. I never liked him to watch, to play. I mean, he's nothing to me. It's all good. I love when guys get paid that are part of the union. But for me, wasn't that around the same time? To me, Ryan Clough was 10 times the player fucking David Clarkson was.
Oh yeah.
I'm not just saying it because he's Newfoundlander. I know they were around up for the same time. Maybe they're a year removed. Maybe from signing as free agents. Now,
Yeah,
Chloe
would've
was
been-
done because of his head, but he was way better than Clarkson to me.
Yeah, and
that would have been I think Chloe would have went to Jersey as a replacement.
Yeah, I
on
think that might have
Clarkson.
happened.
Yeah, I
He
think
actually did, yeah.
I think that would have been like, oh, we've lost
course.
Dave Clarkson. We should go out and get
And,
Ryan Chloe.
Yeah. Now they got fucked too, but it was more circumstances because Chloe got hurt.
Yeah.
You know, Ryan was a powerful
Jesus.
player that had over 20 goals more than once. But Ryan is a lot like Aaron Asham, except he's way fucking bigger. And I said it comes down to math. You know, it's hard to play against Ryan Clough because he's so goddamn big and he's got that reach on him and he's strong. I should say. I mean, you know, Ryan's retired now, but I loved that signing. If not for him getting hurt, which, you know, you're protected anyway that way.
You know, if the Leafs
But
signed
he
him,
did. He showed up. He got signed this summer that Clarkson left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the Leafs signed him, we'd still be stuck with Garrett Sparks, is what you're all telling me.
Well, no, Sparks is a UFA.
What?
Sparks is a UFA.
Let him go run his mouth somewhere
Yeah.
else. It's all good.
Yeah, no, he's not a UFA now. He's signed.
I wouldn't want a
Garrett
guy.
Sparks was signed. That's who they traded for Clarkson.
I know, but
You can't trade a UFA, Mike.
No, but he was a UFA. It was like one of those, like, as of right now, it's showing him with no, like, at the time of the deal, it shows like no contract.
At the time of that trade.
Like, it's showing, and it still isn't showing what his status on his deal is. Like, everything is still coming up at zeros.
I mean, I wish him the best, but are we really going to even see Jared Sparks in the NHL?
No, we're never seeing
Garrett
he's
Sparks,
like what?
I forget his fucking name.
I mean, think about the first year for the Golden Knights. That proves to me they have at least fucking 7 goalies on their depth chart. Garrett Sparks isn't going to fucking.
And do I really want a guy who gets into like 5 games a year, grabbing the mic after every game?
Yeah.
Like
He did it on the way out the
Yeah,
door. He
I
did
mean-
it on the way. He had headlines on the way out the
He
door.
just
He
won't
was
shut up. You're
I
just
know,
like, get
it
out
was-
the door. You're pushing him out, and he's still
He-
grabbing the
he-
microphone. Just
yeah,
leave.
he
Get the
was-
fuck out of the room.
Yeah.
But you know who you do want to hear from is our guest today. How's that for a fucking transition, guys? We have a great guest. Rob Frid is coming on. We already recorded the interview with him, and it's phenomenal. He's a great dude who has a really interesting trajectory of his story and career, going from like playing major junior and collegiate and playing through the minors for a bunch of years as an enforcer, and just kind of what that's kind of led to, and now his new career path working with Medicinal My Way as their executive director, and talking about how CBD and medicinal marijuana can help players, especially who are dealing with like post-concussion problems and things like that. So TR's good buddies with Rob, and got him to hop on the phone with us for a bit. And so now we're going to listen to some words from Rob after words from our sponsors at Miller Lite.
Here's a few things to know when opening an ice-cold Miller Lite. They brew their beer to 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per 355 milliliter serving. And they also brew for great taste. It's this great Pilsner taste that's made Miller Lite a favorite for our beer drinkers everywhere. Miller Lite, 90 calories, 3 grams of carbs. It's Miller time.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, it's my privilege to have good pal Rob Frid on the program. Rob's a former Burlington Eagle, London Knight, St. Thomas Tommy, Louisville River Frog, Quad City Mallard, Columbus Cottonmouth, Anchorage Ace, Odessa Jackalope, Rockford Ice Hog, and Tillensburg Viper. Welcome to the show, Robbie.
I love it. I love the intro. Thank you, TR,
Was
and all the boys on here with me today. Thank you.
yes. Well, listen. I guess I could have given the boys a chance to say thank you. I will. I got to preface
Thanks,
this.
Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
This interview the following way here. So Rob's got a very interesting story. Okay, he's, if those of you don't know, start Googling. He's a very important voice. He speaks from the heart. I want you to listen. Not that you wouldn't listen anyway. I mean, we're not really a video thing, are we? You can only get this by audio, no matter what way you're going to do it. So of course you're going to listen. If you're tuned in, you're listening. But listen, he speaks from experience. Head injuries were a thing, and how to help players that are coming up now. I don't want to dissect the game and whether or not we need this or that, although feel free to talk about it, Robbie, because you did a lot of fighting. But I want to hear what you got to say, and usually, as you know, I take people down a road chronologically throughout their career. We are going to do that, but first, I want to know about your cause. So what happened, first of all, to cause you with post-concussion syndrome back in the day?
Yeah, no, it's a very kind of complex but easy for you to understand, Terry, because obviously you played the game hard just like I did, and many of our other brothers. I've suffered the long-term effects of multiple concussions. I suffered when I was playing junior with London Knights, fighting guys like Eric Cairns, Eric Bolton. I can keep going on too. It was just that was the culture in the game that we both played at that coming up at that time.
And you were in London, so you first.
Yeah.
So you were feeling it in junior, were you? You just didn't report it. Is that what happened?
Yeah, no, I showed it in different ways. Whether it was I was struggling sleeping. I'm not. The fighting just impacted a couple of traumatic experiences. I can look back from when I had a hit from behind from that Jovanovski in London, where I was out a few minutes, and back playing.
I heard about this.
Week, right? Because,
so did Jovan? Because
we all. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, Jovanovski was known as one of the toughest hitters. I mean, he's a tough player, but I remember Jovanovski more for hitting than anything. And I remember the OHL used to have these polls, and he was rated number 1 or 2. I remember this from Brad Brown, who you also know. Brad used to show me the polls. So was it a straight-up open ice hit?
Very explosive players, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was it?
I know what you're saying. Yeah, Ed could also bring a different element very young at the age of 16. He was fighting guys my age at 18, 19 and that, and doing very extremely well. And obviously very intimidating and an explosive skater and can put the puck in the net, but also finish guys too, right? He was just, we all knew when we stepped on the ice with him, right? But yeah, I don't look back. That was just maybe a split-second move that he made where he didn't think properly and, skated in from the blue line to drive me in from the boards there. But I don't hold any grudges against him. It's just those things happen. I've been on the other side just like you have, where we might have made the wrong decision on a hit too, right?
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, that's what leads me to what I'm doing, along with several other guys that you're connected with, like Riley Cote and Ryan Vandenbush and several other guys, Scott Parker, Kevin McClellan. There's many that are in the cannabis space right now and trying to find ways, Terry, not only to feel better, but to educate for those behind us and put pressure on some of the leagues behind us too that are, like the Canadian Hockey League too. And we don't know yet exactly how, say, CBD would work with childhood long-term effects of concussions in junior, where we came from. We didn't have those options. So that's what we're all about right now with Athletes for Care and Medicinal My Way, which is more of a patient advocacy group when I'm trying to put things into a nutshell for you guys and what I'm trying to do myself. But it all comes down to feeling better myself, but helping those around us too
Now,
that are suffering.
what exactly, Robbie, are you doing? So I know what I think a lot of people, especially in the hockey world now, and outside of it, I read became aware of your symptoms when I read the Globe and Mail a couple of years ago. And so I guess the story being, I'm connecting the dots myself. You had symptoms which included anxiety, depression, all of the above, light sensitivity, which I have. I've had all the above as well. And when did you get into this? Is it an app that you started, a weed app? I saw what you sent me, but I wasn't really sure what it is and how it helps.
Yeah, no, that's a good question too, and you cover a lot of angles there. But TR basically, I've got the things that you named off there that we fully relate to. The only difference is that I've got neuromuscular disease at two different levels, right? I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2013, and in the same year, dystonia, which is another neuromuscular disease that's caused from my traumatic brain injuries. Where my muscles and my signals in the brain don't line up. So I get into, sometimes 6 or 8 hour flare-ups where I can't control my muscles and they go into complete cramping, whether it's my calves, hamstrings, toes, ankle bones, and up in my upper extremities, including my jaw, right? So basically medical cannabis, does help me relieve those symptoms during the night. So I do medicate. Prior to that, I was self-medicating with alcohol. Even back in the day when I did play hockey in the same league that we were playing in, I used cocaine too. I was very sick while playing. I was sick at a young age. I've always been trying to eliminate a lot of the chronic pain and the symptoms that gradually led to my diagnoses, right? And so now I'm at a crossroads. I work with the hospital. I've been a patient for the past 11, 12 years. And I just got out of there yesterday, and I have a physiatrist who's prescribed me medical cannabis. And I was also put on opiates 7 years ago. And what I've seen now is I've been able to use, and when can afford medical cannabis, I take less pills. So I see the opportunity to come down off the pain pills that I am using. I'm not sure if I'll be able to fully, but that's what my website, which you just mentioned about with StrainPrint and data collection on the medical cannabis side, is where it's really going to come into play with what I'm doing and showing other patients and former athletes who are using pharmaceuticals or are in pain and do need support, that we have the outlet available for them, and they can watch while we do it too. So it's all good stuff happening.
Well, listen, I'm really thank you for being so open and honest about it, because a lot of what you say, although I can't relate to having neuromuscular diseases. I can't relate to having Parkinson's. I certainly can't. But I can relate to trying to bottle it up and not tell anybody. And certainly, I remember weed helping me, and I was so scared to tell anybody about it because, it was like, don't do weed. I mean, you'd almost. I remember having 6 or 7 beers, and it had thinned my blood out, I guess, just talking to the doctor, and it helped me sleep, whatever it was. But I would have problems sleeping through the night too. And the fact of talking to you now almost is therapeutic because I've noticed for years now that weed helps. And I'm so pumped that now in Canada it's legal because you can kind of pick whatever kind of weed you need. Some doesn't help, right? Like there are certain kinds that doesn't help. But when you start being able to stick handle around different treatments and therapies, for me, it's meditation, listening to music, and smoking weed, whatever it might be. Now, look, I appreciate you, Robbie, being open. But I want to know, what was the lowest of the low, and what are your symptoms? Because people out there, I want them to put themselves in your shoes, in our shoes, but more yours, because you've got your own journey that's, again, intriguing, and it's crazy from just coming from a perspective of going into junior, wanting to make the NHL. I remember you having every chance to make it. Your numbers were right there, and at the time, I guess that's the biggest thing you're stressed about. And nowadays, it's neurological problems. So when did you notice? Okay, there's something beyond normal going on, and what was the lowest of the low, if you don't mind me asking that?
No, thank you, Terry, for asking me because, a lot of people don't ask me that. And it's very, I think, important for all of us to share. And, I'm pretty impressed at what you guys are doing as a team, too. And you're helping us and helping others, too. But, the lowest, and, I still feel it at times, too, right? It's tough. Suicidal thoughts are always there when you're dealing with high thresholds of chronic pain. It's hard. It's you run into roadblocks where you're unable to work in the open labor market. You have others around you that you expect to understand what you're going through, and it's very hard for them to understand, right, when they don't experience it.
That was the hardest for me,
through it. So but exactly what you're doing, the platform you're building right here through the podcast speaks volumes to who you are, and that's what it's all about, right? It's supporting each other, and I'm not out here to tell people to smoke a joint or get into cannabis. All I'm trying to do is connect with good people like yourselves and get together. And we're finding out more of us are using cannabis too, so it's going to bring us together even at a higher level and help those too that want to work but can't, or want to save their marriage but can't because the education's not there, the support's not there. So it's really getting in tune with everybody, including families that are supporting all of us. So I appreciate you guys having me on board, but I think I just answered that for you, TR.
No. I love you, brother. I appreciate it. We're helping each other out. I mean, as much as respect that I have for all those guys, I've often said it, Rob, look at our Facebooks. Like, there's teammates I played with that I barely talked to, but that world of having to drop the mitts back in the day and knowing what it was all about and going through the anxieties and everything, I think all of us, there's a real link, because we all really appreciate it. And when you said suicidal thoughts,
our daughters, brother.
Yeah, exactly. You got Tegan, isn't it?
I love that you have with your daughter, and that's our number one medication. And that, yes, Tegan. Yeah, we'll have to get them together at some point. I'd love to.
And, listen, speaking of suicidal thoughts, one person that I don't bring up here enough, and I've had them, I'm not saying, shit happens anyway, but I'm sure all that, the head trauma didn't help for me, more than once. I'm not saying I go around, I try to relate it to people. I'm like, I don't go around depressed, but when things get bad, they can get really bad. And that's happened since my head injuries for sure. Quentin Van Horlick.
Yeah, you found out that.
I did.
Through acting and the love through your daughter and, even singing in the car, right? You're doing things that, are more important than medication too. But some of us do need medical support. So you're really helping all of us, brother. Keep it up.
Robbie, Quentin Van Horlick, he was a teammate of mine in Quesnel, one of the nicest people I've ever met. And Quint ended up getting in run-ins with the law. God rest his soul. Quint took his own life
I know his
a
whole
few years
story. Yeah, I
ago.
played against him too.
Yeah, I saw because he's one of the guys I think. Yeah, with Matty Van Horlick.
Yeah,
Matty's great player. Yeah, he's one of the guys I like to bring up because I say to people, I'm like, Quint, I remember like back in the day, him calling me because I had a few concussions that were well publicized. And Quint's, I guess, went kind of unnoticed when you're playing in the lower rung leagues. And he called. And like, all I remember from Quinton and his dad, John, and his brother, Matt, they were just great people, like awesome people. When I first went to Quesnel, BC, Quint was the type, we called him Rudy, right? He just used to go and he wasn't scared of anything. But he hadn't really had a major concussion yet. He took lots of punches, and then a few years later, he phoned me. And he said, Noof, I don't know what's going on. He said, ever just feel like flipping out once in a while? And I was like, okay, like this isn't the Quint I remember. And sadly enough, lot of pain.
And a lot of pain, and his inability to fully understand it because he didn't have any pain control or support. So that's when things get totally out of control, and we saw it with his situation with the law, hitting the hard stuff. It was just he needed a way out. He needed to go, and he's at peace now, right? So, what you did for him and the support you gave him at that time, again, that speaks volumes to who you are, right? But it is unfortunate that he's not with us today. I think he would be now with the support that we do have around us.
Well, he's probably, not probably, I'm sure he's with us in more than one way. Certainly with me, I'll never, right. I figure when you stop the conversation, that's when the cause maybe doesn't get noticed as much. But I'll talk about Quinton with a smile on for the rest of my life. His life ended too quick, but was one of the best. Now, listen, so I'm going to get back to this, but I am interested in a few things here, Robbie. I'm interested. Your career.
Yeah, I know you.
So you go in, I noticed that you played in Burlington. You're from Hamilton, aren't you?
No, I'm from Burlington. I live in Hamilton now.
Okay, you live in Hamilton.
I grew up in the border. Burlington, Hamilton.
And a lot of people would say Burlington and Hamilton are the same place. Balderdash, they will have your head if you say that in Burlington or in Hamilton. They are just,
in a sticky situation, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Frid Street in Hamilton, right? Named after my uncle, so that's where my street lies in Hamilton.
Oh, beautiful. And you go to
the hard hat in the hammer.
When you started in London in the OHL, I noticed. So you were you drafted into the O, or were you a free agent and you played your way on?
No, I was a 10th round draft at London's 8th pick that in '92. But no, I was a baseball player, so I didn't really expect much. I ended up playing midget AAA and had a couple good tournaments where I ran a few guys over and showed I had some skill and determination, I guess. And Bob Giroux ended up drafting me, and that was the year I ended up losing my mother, right, to cancer. So it was kind of stay home close to my younger brother and family. So I ended up choosing hockey over baseball.
Holy shit!
I was pretty highly touted.
That's two things that are amazing there. I didn't know you lost your mom at such a young age, man. You are a tough cat that's been through a lot of adversity. No wonder you're the man you are today. And I also didn't know you were that great of a baseball player. Or that great. That was I didn't realize you were a dual athlete. Holy fuck, what a way to put it.
Yeah, good. I played football too. Yeah, we all did. Hey, look at you even play road hockey for our Team Canada. So come on. Yeah, no, I couldn't play road hockey. That's a different sport. And you're very versatile too. And I think you played ball growing up. Oh,
I did. I played lots of ball growing up. I still enjoy. I enjoy playing, but it turns into slow pitch, which I don't like. But I like trying to hit a curveball or a knuckleball, or try to blow one by me high and. But like once you get to a certain age, I'm 42 now. It's not like there's these like kind of beer league baseball. It just turns into slow pitch.
No one's
nothing
throwing
against
beaners. No one's throwing
nothing
heat at
against
42
slow pitch either. Just yeah. I enjoy. My favorite part about baseball is the approach at the plate. Trying to outthink the pitcher, maybe guessing what's coming, so that's completely gone in slow pitch.
Well, what happens is like they take all the things that make baseball fun and interesting, like bunting, sliding, stealing, leaning up, and they take all that away, but they give you beer, and they figure that's the offset, right? It's like you're not allowed to do any of that shit, but here's some beer.
Yeah, true enough. Actually,
we used to have some scraps. We used to have fights back in baseball growing up too, right?
Jeez.
Wow.
Obviously, with the concussion crisis, that we don't even speak down that. But I was caught in a pickle once where I got slapped too hard in the face with a glove, and then we all went at it. Parents were involved. That's
Come
just the way,
on.
yeah, sometimes.
Wow.
Well, how old were you then, Robbie?
Never on the rock, boys. You never had that happen in Newfoundland.
You did. I mean,
We did.
Like, I mean, there was always. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day because we talk a lot about how people. You know, Terry was talking to a fan in Tri-City a while back, and they talked about how there's not really fighting in hockey because you get penalized for it or whatever. It's sort of the same thing. There's not really fighting in baseball, but you see bench clearing brawls a lot more often in
Okay,
baseball than you do in hockey.
I've never been part of a baseball game that came to blows. I've never been part of a.
I've seen a guy charge a pitcher.
Wow.
Oh yeah, in minor ball.
I've seen a guy charge a
I
pitcher.
joke with Robbie, but twice I remember in minor ball. When I say minor,
Little league,
I guess.
like-
At this point, there was once in Bantam, we were 14, 15, and there was once in junior. But it was the same. Like it wouldn't normally happen, but once in a while you get a pitcher that's pissed off for one reason or another. Maybe you slide into second and you spike a guy, and then you get one in the head. And I remember twice Donnie Brooks breaking out, but it was like a 3 or 4 game suspension. But like I said, it's going to happen. Like you can make it a 20 game suspension at some point. People are going to get pissed off. But look, I want to know what it was like.
I love getting off topic with you guys. Look, we get right into ball. We can sit for hours.
Well-
we need to bring Senior in. Got to bring Senior into these shows too. I love Senior videos, and what a beautiful man you have as a dad.
You got to come here to visit. You got to come down in the basement. There's lots of life in you yet. You get here and come down in the fucking basement. You would love it. We got so many people in common.
What's that?
So many things in common, Robbie. Look, I want to know what it was like to play with Jason Allison in junior. Because I've always said if he had played in today, I don't want to use the word soft, but he was more of a finesse player going through, in the West in the O back then was just fucking chaos for a lot of us. And even guys like David Ling could score, but they had to have a chip on their shoulder. Jason Allison, I remember watching. He wasn't a great skater, but what a fucking creative player. I mean, he must have been dynamic in junior, was he?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm sitting right now with one of my old assistant captains, and Ali was our captain in London, but I'm here with Gord Ross right now. Ironically, we haven't seen each other since our last year junior together.
Another 200-minute guy?
Ali, yeah. Gordy, he showed up. Had some battles with Scott Walker out no sound, but Gordy was just a freelancer, and he loved the game, but he really could have done anything he wanted to in life, but he was a good leader and a good guy to have on our team, and he played more with Ali and I than I did, but definitely Ali had a different vision. Jason was very good down low behind the net, if we remember, but there was instances too where he had to drop the gloves, and he did very well. Long arms. And,
wow.
Wouldn't have guessed.
Eyes off, and had the fans standing up in London a few times, right?
That is interesting. I didn't know.
His first year to his second year, and I wasn't there. Now he's first year, but Gord was, and he was like from a Bambi deer into a doe, or you know what I mean? Like he was just night and day. And then obviously to get right up to Boston and what he did in the NHL, but I think he could have had a longer career, but he had some problems with his wrists, and but hey, he's still a 100-point man in the NHL. That speaks volumes.
Exactly.
And
So
I'm glad that you were able to. I think you played with him, TR, at one point.
oh yeah, I went to tons of camps with him, and he was a couple years older than me, but I was always mesmerized. And Jamie Rivers talks about him, and not that I know Jamie, but I met him back in the day, and we kind of kept in touch, especially now over there. Put it this way, and when Allison went to Toronto, I thought at times he was misused. People were down on him. He was never the greatest defensively, but I just thought he was a magician. Next, Robbie, St. Thomas. Now, what did you? I've always wondered this, because you go from London. I know you could have at least gone to the East Coast League. I'm not sure if you were offered a contract, but again, 3 years in the O, you had some good numbers. St. Thomas, was that because of your head and you said, fuck it, I'm going to go to university and not fight? Or did you wait and say, you know what, I'm going to get my education and then go to pro?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, because you can't read that on Hockey DB, but I did. I was in St. Louis in 95, 96 in training camp. I was the only undrafted invitee to camp. I think Jack Evans, I forget our scout's name with St. Louis, was scouting out of London, so he was able to see me quite a bit. So I was very honored to get a tryout in the NHL, and I was there with Brett Hull, Al McInnes, Chris Pronger,
Wow.
Grant Fuhr, Deacon, Shane Corson, Jamie Rivers too, right?
That was the big Blues year. That
on
was.
there, as a 19-year-old kid, and coming off of, like you just said, suffering the year before, fighting guys like Cairns and Bolton, and that's just the way things are, right? But no, I ended up instead of going to the East Coast League, I took my education package and played on a pretty good team at St. Thomas University with Dave Gilmore, Matt Hogan, Pat Powers, Scott Hayes, goaltender from Sarnia. So it was a good time. It really, Al McAdam was my coach and longtime NHL man.
Yeah, Al was my coach.
Taught me to put the gloves away, and work on a little bit of my skill set, and I think rest my head, and then come out, a couple of years later back in the coast, and then give it again, right?
No, I didn't know Al. I didn't know Al McAdam was. I didn't know Al McAdam was the coach of that hockey team. But I went to St. Thomas for, I'll say, a cup of coffee. I didn't get a degree there. But my neighbor in the residency was the nephew of Al McAdam, named after him. Also, Al McAdam. Were you playing in the Beaverbrook back then? I guess you would have been.
Aiken Center, wasn't it?
Sorry, you broke up.
The arena that the Tommies played at. Did they play many games out of the Beaverbrook?
Yeah. I played the original arena. Now they have a new one.
They've got
Al was there for probably 5 or 6 years prior.
Okay.
To when I showed up, and he coached a couple of years after. So he had a pretty long tenure there, maybe about 10 years. He was the athletic director, head coach. He did the whole thing. But yeah, what a great silent man, right? Didn't speak all the time, but when he spoke, he demanded respect, and he got the most out of us.
Robbie,
athletes and as students. Yeah.
Impressive.
I saw Al 2 weeks ago, guys, when I went to that. It's long. We've been on hiatus, but I was in a golf tournament both weekends. Last week or 2 weekends ago, I was in Charlottetown, and so Al was there, but he looks. I hate to say young because he's got a head as white as Santa Claus, but it's been like that for 20 years. Al looks young and chipper, told some great stories. Yeah, man, in 900 games, I forgot. Al said, I remember my 900th game. I said, your 900th game. And he's such a humble guy, you forget that he played so long in the NHL.
Cleveland Barons, he was the captain there for a while, wasn't he?
Imagine. Yeah, I mean, that's a story in itself.
Knocked a few guys out.
Yeah. Fuck guys from PEI, man. So listen, so St. Thomas, you go there, and I mean, we could talk. I lived in Freddie Beach, and I'm sure I frequented all the places that you frequented at the time, from Sweetwaters to Dolan's to the Social Club to Hilltop. I can keep going. But Louisville, what brought you to Louisville? And how did you, the River Frogs, that was in the coast, did you sign with an NHL team, or did you just go there winging a prayer and made the team? And how did you like Louisville? Because I like that city.
Yeah, pretty much. I wanted to leave school a year early and catch on with my degree later on. I felt at that time, being 23, I think it was time to at least step into the coast. But I stepped into the American League first, just with a PTO with Kentucky, with the Thoroughblades, with Jim Wiley. But Al was friends with Warren Young, the coach in Louisville, so that's how that was set up. I went into camp with Kentucky. I thought I had a pretty good camp. I fought Zdeno Chara twice in inter squad. Stephane Medor, who I ended up playing with, another tough French defenseman. I ended up, getting bloodied and showing up in that camp. But again, without a contract, and you know how that works, Terry.
Yeah.
With what you've been through. So, I ended up in Louisville, but I thought I had a pretty good year. I led the team in penalty minutes, and then at the end of the year, I ended up, I felt I took a cheap shot there in Toledo with a player named Lee Cole. He grabbed me at the end of the shift. I had no energy. We always had a code. And that fight's on YouTube, and it doesn't show the truth of what happened, but I ended up snapping at the end of the fight because I didn't want to fight. It was the last game of the regular season.
I hear you.
Again, I was at the end of the shift, and he busted my nose. I snapped. I went in. I broke his jaw in several places, knocked out some teeth, and ended up getting 54-game suspension from Andy Van Hellen and Coast League. So the next year, I ended up in Chicago in training camp in the IHL, but then buried with Quad City, which was a great experience for me with the Mallard
Now,
the time. So that's
stop
kind of how my
stop right
career
there
went.
for a second, because I know buddies that played in Quad City and absolutely loved it, and they showed me some video. I don't know if do they still sell out like that, but some guys you played with, actually, Brian Lafleur, Carl LeBlanc, they were on my team in Colorado Springs. I think they played with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LB. Yeah. Oh yeah.
LB had
Yeah.
didn't he have a burger joint or a hot dog joint or something? I don't know. I can't remember. But
He had his poutine service right in the ring.
right in the
Really
ring.
well. He used to show up at the bar with all the brown bills. Yeah. or the green bills.
LBs, yeah.
Yeah, take care of all the boys. But yeah, he's a good leader. He
So-
can fight too and take care
Yeah,
of things when
man.
things got out of hand.
Good fella. I hope I know he listens once in a while. I hope he's listening to this one.
Yeah, good.
So listen, Quad City, where is it, and how and how did you and did you guys win, or you came close? Or I know those guys came over with 2 and 3 rings each, so I don't know which year you were there, but I know they had good teams. And how's the city? Where the fuck is it?
Yeah, I'll start off with the organization. Quad City started in the old Colonial League and transitioned into the United League, but always had a strong affiliation at the point when I was there with Portland in the American League, which is Washington's farm team. So we always had some highly drafted guys in there, along with seasoned veterans like Mark McFarland and Steve Gibson. The list can go on. Glenn Stewart. Some great players. But at the end of the day, when I showed up there, I filled in a role. I was a 10th forward. It was my second year coming off that suspension. So I think I only played about 38 games, maybe had an injury too. But at the end of the season, we got into some numbers too, and we got some players from Portland. So after fighting all year and having 200 minutes of fighting, the tough guys that needed to be fighted, I was left off the playoff roster. So that was the year where I went home and really looked into myself and wondering, did I want to keep, doing it because it hurt, right? Sticking up for your teammates, but end up watching them lose in Game 7 when, I felt our team was soft and maybe could have used me, right? So that's the way that the game is played. And, I continued to keep playing on and ended up in Texas playing with some close friends of mine from junior and ending off my career there, but still battling hard in that league. So it's just, every year I was, into a position where I was into cumulative trauma each year with the long-term effects of concussions, getting sicker, but not wanting to retire too, because I love the boys and I love playing.
Yeah, that's a hard, that's
Quad Cities in Moline, Illinois.
It's quite a
and on Davenport with Iowa. So the Mississippi River that comes up north separates the two towns, but they make up 5 cities. So they got a few good bars in that town. Yard.
I see. No, I always wondered. I knew generally where it was, but just from looking at the map and the boys showing me, but I'd never been there. And my minor league travels, again, I played in the Atlantic Coast League, the East Coast League, the International League, the American Hockey League, the NHL, the West Coast League. So you'd figure at some point I came across most places, but I did not come across Quad Cities. Now, we're going Columbus.
Because of the Colonial United League mix. Yeah, you were at that point. You were you were at the higher level too, right? So, but playing in Quad City when you're getting 9,000, 10,000, 8,000 fans a game.
Yeah.
Probably.
I try to tell people, like, it's one of those places, the minor leagues guys can be mesmerizing. I remember playing in Boise. I picked Colorado Springs, when you're a free agent too. Like,
I love that barn in Boise.
Boise, how good is that, right? And they sell it. It's perfect little size, perfect size town. I mean, I loved Boise. For that, there's.
Were you there with Barry Potofsky? Were you there with Photo?
No, I was in Colorado Springs, but I know him. It was a 9-team league, and I had a few friends over there: Jeremy Milmock, Bobby Stewart, Matt Martin, a few more, and they were good friends with Poto. So I'm and at alumni events and shit like that, I've met him more than once. Another tough guy.
Okay.
But listen, Columbus. People think Columbus Cottonmouths. So Columbus Cottonmouths were a team in the Central League, and when people hear it, they often ask me, how Columbus would have so many pro teams, and they do. But this is Columbus, Georgia, and I don't realize. I don't think a lot of people realize that. They think it's Columbus, Ohio. So how was it to live in Georgia, and how is Columbus to play? I mean, it's pretty hot down there. I know that. I'm just curious because I've never been there either. I've been to Columbus, Georgia. I haven't been to a game. How is it?
Yeah, what a great another great market at the time when I was there. TR, it was I was there in the Jerome Boom Boom Bouchard days.
Oh,
Jerome obviously he floated around a lot of the leagues that we played in, and was a gamer too. But played with a chip on his shoulder. I don't know if you ever met up with Boom Boom, but
no, I know who
he
you
was,
mean.
the captain there. Yeah, you know who I mean. But yeah, through that year at the Central League when I was there, and the year prior when they did win a cup or a couple cups in a row. Yeah, 7,000 fans in that barn when it sat 7,500 or it was packed. Yeah, it was the snake pit, and they sat right over top of you. It was electrifying too. Another year where I fought a lot, and you know that the farther you go down south, I was treated like a 50 goal scorer. So
Yeah.
and I didn't pay for any food, and even had a few girls want to kiss me.
They do, guys. Like, they love the tough guys down south, right? So a lot of times guys go, like, I know a few guys. Craig Stahl is one. I think Craig ended up down there, played in Columbus.
Oh, yeah, Craig, yeah.
Stallsy, yeah. I mean,
fought Margetti.
yeah.
More the middleweight, like, good guy.
Yeah.
He could fight long.
Good middleweight, good guy.
He could go for 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. He was my teammate in Tri-Cities, and actually just got in touch the other day after about 15 years, and of all people, his son sent me a message and said, Dad talks about you all the time. I said, Stahl, Stahl. I said, there's only one guy I'm thinking about here. Is your father Craig? He said, yes, he is. And you know what? I'll have him on this show one time for sure.
Before we move on,
go ahead.
Heart and soul.
Yeah, no,
he was a heart and soul guy.
No, I was just gonna say before we move on, I do have to note, like, as I've been like going through and checking stuff out, the Columbus Cottonmouths in Columbus, Georgia, they're no longer a team. They played in a couple different leagues. They finished off in the SPHL a couple
Southern
years
Pro
ago.
League, yeah. That's where Dave Roper was, our buddy there.
But
he was down there. That's
there's
the only...
some talks. There's some talks, guys, that they're trying to get back mixed in with the Southern Pro that just went into Quad City last year with the Quad City Storm.
A lot of these things, Mike, they just change leagues, right?
Oh yeah,
like,
no, and that's it. It's like, so they played in the CHL, the Central Hockey League. Then they were in the ECHL for a few years. Then they were in the SPHL, and they stopped playing in 2017. But that last set of uniforms they had, they came up while I was like kind of searching stuff. Like some of the nicest hockey jerseys I've seen. They're gorgeous with this like really great looking fucking cottonmouth snake. Fucking great.
They're collectors.
My number 44. My number 44s look like 99s with the snakes.
Nice.
But they would auction them off like 3 times a year and get like $1,000 for a jersey.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know what? Just like this, like my first, outside of the AHL, when I went down to those leagues, Mike, I went to Colorado Springs the first year, Boise the second year, Orlando my third year, or fifth, sixth, whatever. I'm just counting random years, but every one of those teams are in a different league now. Same team. The Idaho Steelheads are still there. They're in the East Coast. It often happens, right? They just switch leagues because there's markets for these teams.
Yeah.
The league might take a different perspective, much like the American League. When I played in the American League, it was all East Coast seaboard. You could just get in a bus from Freddie, go all the way down, come all the way back, and you would have played every team. Now it's not like that.
No.
You fly everywhere. And like,
you know what I found out, CR? What I found out along the last few years, I've been able to work alongside the NHL alumni with the likes of Ron Andruff and his emotional transitional committee and Jim McTaggart. And, from conversations and us even looking at some of the minor league markets, we do think that it comes down to insurance too, right? Especially now with what we know about brain injury and what's being, spoken about at the higher level with the legalities around the leagues and everything, and to carry all the insurance and everything. Some of these markets can't function, can't have a team, right? So I think that's another reason too that we're seeing that some markets aren't surviving. But you might want to look into that. I think that could be the truth.
Robbie, you know what I often thought about that? And I know you're right. Some teams do, and they lose their team because of that. I often thought, I don't want to pick apart the rules too much or get political on one side or the other, but like I've often said, like for me, what opened it, I'm sure fighting didn't help on top of the hits, but what opened the door was a fucking hit. And 4 times I've had major post-concussion syndrome. Each one is a hit now. If I go out and fight on top of that, of course, it's not good. So I know all of the above is bullshit. I get it. But I shouldn't say bullshit. All of the above is a very hard topic to deal with for the NHL and for everybody else because hits and fights both cause it. For me, hits were worse, but I'm certainly not putting words in anybody else's mouth. But
Same here.
if I'm going to
Same
say,
here.
can we start by making the ice a little bit bigger? Did you ever think that? Like you're a pretty good hockey player as well, Rob. You fought. You're like me. You know, you fought, but if there was no fighting, you still could have been there. You know, you would have still been in the OHL. You're a decent scorer. You can hit. You play both ends of the rink, right? But for me, if the ice was just a little bit bigger, like I've played in Europe at times for here and there for this, that, and the other reason, and I find
in Anchorage, we felt that.
Anchorage is there. There's a huge rink. So, like, you couldn't have too many pure meatballs on Anchorage because if they chased after you, you could just get. I was worried, like, breaking out of my own end in an NHL-sized rink.
Wasn't going to catch you. Rest in peace, Chad Richards.
Yes.
Another guy that's
Jesus.
Yeah, maybe you're right. You're getting onto a topic. Maybe the small rink, maybe the equipment made of Kevlar, maybe the culture of the game. That's why we did see a few of our brothers that, aren't here and couldn't handle things. But I do think also, TR, that we're getting better at managing symptoms afterwards and having more support.
Yeah,
so we're going
too.
to see less guys passing away and things too. But look, we just lost another guy to suicide too with Craig Johnson. There in Nashville.
Man. Just last week.
Again, issues, maybe financial, maybe some concussion issues mixed in there. And I'm not saying that the game's to blame for that. I love hockey. But you're right. There is things that we could do, or the leagues could do, to make things safer. And that's, too, start believing in cannabis, too, while watching it work for a lot of us alumni, whether it's from minor leagues or the NHL. And start, putting some money into research and studies and things like that, opening up the rinks, allowing our kids to skate, and, even looking at possibly some education down the line about, or in science, looking at CBD as a neuroprotectant for our youth, too. I took morphine when I was 17, and I blew out and shattered my collarbone, right? Nowadays, do the team doctors in the Canadian Hockey League have the ability to prescribe cannabis over pharmaceuticals that basically could fit into an addiction realm for me down the road or others? These are conversations that are deep, but what you just stated there about the arena fits in to those conversations, and I'm glad and I'm very honored that you do use cannabis medically, and it does help you. And I hope that you guys continue to jump on board and start speaking to more athletes that are using it, because I think that it's a big part. But also the culture of the game, too, like you did say, opening up the rink and maybe looking at maybe some hemp-based shoulder pads. Maybe they have more give than Kevlar. Have you ever thought about that? TR.
Totally. And the fucking glass. When I started junior hockey, you used to hit and the glass used to bend out. It'd flex out and flex in.
And people love it. It makes so much noise. And people would love it. It'd make noise. But then it became, what if somebody gets hurt on the other side of the glass, a fan gets bopped or whatever.
I remember leaning into
I used to love that.
Bro, I remember my second year, was it? Fuck, I'm trying to remember. Whenever they made the transition was while I played junior. And there's a whole lot different. If you see, like if I saw a guy, again, I'll use Brendan Witt because he was like
I think it would be 98 when they made their cement glass, as I call it.
Yeah, so like you'd come in, like if I saw a tough guy coming, I'd almost start jumping backwards towards the bendy glass, the plexiglass, because like, or not even a tough guy, anybody that was going to hit me. And so I'd kind of bend into it. But when you now all of a sudden when you ran out of room, you really ran out of room, and it was like getting hit from cement into cement, and your head takes a fucking beating, right? There's all kinds of little things we could dissect, but one thing I want to get back to before I forget, Rob, is that I was always told this is the reason, right? Fuck, if I'd known about weed when I first my first concussion, again, it's on YouTube. I think it's Terry Ryan gets hit, Damon Lankow, Byron Brisky respond. That's what it is, and you can see me. I get hit in the head. And then I'm out, and then my head hits the ice on top of it. And I didn't know how to deal with it for a while. And, I really, really was confused. I was weed, like beer. I knew beer would make me feel a little better, at least help me sleep. I remember going, I just want to sleep through the night. And the worst was like 4 or 5 in the morning, or 3 or 4 in the morning, when it's those witching hours and you're in there and you're questioning your mind and you're going like, am I all fucked up and why can't I sleep? And I wish I'd fucking known, because people would say that weed was the gateway drug. So I'd be like, well, I better not do weed, or soon enough I'll be like Bob Probert, right? You know, we're having a dependency on cocaine or whatever it might be. A guy like you, it went the other way around. I don't know how much cocaine you did. I mean, a lot of people did it. I don't know how much boozing you did, but you mentioned earlier when you were in Alaska or whatever it was, Odessa, you said, you know, you started to get into the wrong things. I hope people realize that it's not a gateway drug. Right now, I take CBD every day, Robbie, just to feel good. It makes my joints. I play ball hockey still. I still play ice hockey. CBD is not even, you know, to me, it's the most sensible healer there is.
Tiger Woods won the world's on it.
Exactly.
Tiger
if
Woods
I go
won the
to a
world.
fucking, I'm going to go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood tomorrow, and I'll probably take THC and get stoned and watch the movie. Right?
Great film.
I hear. But I'm not.
I'm
try to.
smoking one with Gord right now. Gordy just rolled up a big fatty.
Yeah, you know, and there's. Hey, Gord.
Hey, Gord.
I'm silent. Sorry. Go on. Hey, no, he's a former CHL alumni.
I see.
I feel bad him right. You're not saying hi. It's good.
200 fucking penalty minutes in the O ain't easy, Gordy. We love you. But yeah.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. I was misunderstood.
Yeah, he's definitely a love, not a fighter. He was misunderstood.
Oh,
He did show up. I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
What does Gordy do now?
Yeah. What do you do, Gord?
What do I do? I work at a territorial level. I've been always in labor market work, so just facilitating, expanding labor markets, and right now in the Northwest Territories, working with a lot of the First Nations partners and governments to help figure out. I think Newfoundland boys would understand this when the economy is about to go dormant for the next 5 years. What are we going to do with a lot of the talent, right?
Wow.
Beautiful.
That's it. We have a boring life.
That sounds very interesting, to be honest, Gord. I love seeing where guys go after the game, because when we're all playing junior, like, everybody has the same plan, right? But you really have no fucking idea where the next guy's going to end up. You think you do. You think you have it all played out, but you really don't. And it's good to see, you know, that, you know, you guys still hanging out over 20 years after you played junior. I just love that.
And I will say, I mean, I hadn't talked to Rob. I mean, I'm a silent. I'm not even a considered alumni. I just had a different life afterwards, and it was not of any other issue. But connecting with Rob several years ago, I mean, I was the cannabis smoker back in junior hockey. I mean, before I got drafted to the OHL, I was opening doors of perception with the Deadhead crew kind of idea. So I was a misfit with the hockey culture, although I don't think, I believe David Ling,
yeah. He's been on our podcast. Yeah, he was my roommate for a little bit. I know Linger well.
Right. So bottom line is I just reconnected with Rob and Medicinal My Way, and have certainly I've been involved over the years on a number of levels of cannabis and marijuana culture and medicinal advocacies and gray markets, et cetera, et cetera. So I've always been a semi-active participant in the whole culture over the last 25 years. And to reconnect with Rob, I can only honor what the work that they're doing, and I understand you guys are doing around athletes and whether cannabis is or isn't a part of that healing and compassion and management aspect. I've just never had that issue because I've always used it, and therefore physically, cognitively, day-to-day functioning, it's just been part of my life. So I'm really quite happy that the discussion is, because it is a bit of a taboo in sport, of course. I'm not telling anyone anything that they don't know, but it's kind of a simple answer when you start to just ask the simple question. Alcohol or cannabis after a massive 3-game road trip where you can't sleep on the bus and your trainer may or may not be applying you with any pharmaceutical to make the pain go away. So this is another option that needs to be discussed on whether that's the best management for athletics and providing choice and access based on knowledge. But I'll pass it over to you guys. I've been enjoying.
Wow. That's just a
Wow.
fucking phenomenal essay.
That's a mic drop there.
Yeah, just drop the mic and just grab your beer and jump in the pool. You've done your job. Thank you, Gord.
That's right.
And you know what?
Hey, that's the way Gordy was when he played with us too.
Great
Yeah,
teammate.
he
And
took a
I'll
lot of
say
shots,
this.
but
I'll
he
say
always had
this,
a nice
boys.
hash joint rolled up for us.
I'll say this. No hangover on top of all that. No hangover. How many days did I wake up and go, okay, fuck, practice, so let's get through, boys. Look at each other and you're like, fuck, let's get through. Okay, Thordy, let's do this. Let's go, Demmer, let's go. And you're like, okay. And really, it's just the night before, like we were playing cards or whatever. You're just told, to drink beers back in the day. And no, weed's bad. It'll open that gate. Well, I don't know. It didn't open any fucking gate for me. It just makes me feel a bit better, and I have no hangover. But again, every's different. I just always found it funny, Robbie. I can't believe that in this day and age, I'm still trying to advocate for it.
I smoke joints and I drink a few beers. The problem, dystonia, and that out of the Parkinson's family and the diagnosis that I have gotten, dystonia, the only known treatment for it is alcohol, and it's tough. It's tough. I've met a lot of Parkinson's patients and patients with neuromuscular disease that have been using alcohol to relax their muscles, right? So at the end of the day, it's more about balance. I'm not anti-alcohol. I'm not anti-pharmaceutical, anything, right? It's, to me, you have to live your life, and the way that you find it, to able to live the most healthiest life that you can with the pain that you do have. And I've worked hard to get to this point, but if you see me with a beer in my hand, you don't have to judge me. I'm not that guy, right? So that's another part too that's very hard for me in this phase too, because there is a lot of anti-alcohol in the cannabis space too, and anti-pharmaceuticals. And to me, I'm more about living your life, but cannabis can come into play as harm reduction too. You can get some of the same benefits as you can with other drugs and other forms of self-medicating. So there's a big part of healing too, right, with everything. So it's good. I want to crush a beer with you guys and see you here one day, and we'll do it.
Well, one thing I want to ask is, you mentioned a few times working with the NHL. Where are they with the sense of CBD oils and cannabis therapy and stuff like that? Because I get the sense, I know a few emails leaked a few years back, and I don't quite know which hockey ops member it was, but they kind of had a way of wording it. Well, listen, guys, if this is, we already know there's, a pain problem in the NHL, and a lot of people were buying, they suspected a lot of pro hockey players were sourcing pills and pharmaceuticals online. I don't think it's a case of pills and pharmaceuticals versus cannabis therapy. It's a sense that it's why would we want to take a tool away and never put it in the toolbox if CBD treatment and stuff like that is seen as a tool? And where is the NHL with all of that now? Because the last I had read about it was probably about 2 seasons ago.
No, that's a great question, and I'll try to break it down into layman's terms.
Okay.
From my own personal feelings of the work and support that I've had from the NHL alumni, from Riley Cote, with him bringing Athletes for Care together.
Yes, Riley seems to be the Yoda of this.
He's one of our top educators out there for sure. He's got his own brand. He's always had a jump on sports, I believe, even out of all the sports, and he's proven that with his advocacy. Riley Cote won 2018 Advocate of the Year at the Medical Cannabis Awards there in Colorado. So Riley, we know what he does, right? But he did have a problem back in early 2018 with the NHL alumni and setting up an educational presentation. He tried to do it through the Flyers alumni. It didn't work. They ended up releasing him as a coach in the American League. He was an assistant coach, I think, for 7 years. He doesn't come openly and speak about that. They weren't happy about his views, and that's why they let him go. But Riley's been open in some interviews, so it is what it is.
Okay, I didn't know that.
we ended up, together working, and I facilitated and went the back door to the NHL Original Six alumni in Toronto, right? And that's Johnny Bowers and, the Grant Sears, all the alumni, right? So they do a luncheon. They're monthly. I do go there. I would love for you guys to come. I can get you an invite every first Monday of the month. We ended up doing the first ever educational cannabis presentation in all professional sports with Riley Cote and Dr. Mainville. We brought in Aurora's Med Relief as a sponsor and StrainPrint, who now I'm doing some work as an ambassador for. So we ended up going down that route. Once Glenn Healy saw that and he started talking with Canopy Growth, we ended up putting a deal together, which is public and in the media. They're going to be doing some CBD studies and some short, long-term studies, maybe some integrating some THC studies. But we're going to see that, upcoming too in football. I can't release something that's going on right now, but there's more talks for the CFL to get involved at a higher level with studies too. So we're going to see a lot more now coming, especially with CBD, with active players, right? And
that's good to know.
Probably more the THC with the long-term effects of acute pain and recovery in sports today.
So, Robbie,
coming. Yeah.
What for you? Let's say 5 years from now, what's a success? What are you looking for? More like, is there a measuring stick? Like, what do you want more people to subscribe to your website? And what is that if there is one? What's your success in 5 years from now? What do you see as success?
Yeah, no, I just had a website go live today with StrainPrint. I don't have it memorized yet, so I can't give it to you. But if you went on StrainPrint and typed in Frid, then you can see that I'm involved with data collection now, where we do have an app with StrainPrint that we do track our sessions, whether I'm using extract oils to sleep or for chronic pain or as a time release, or whether I'm smoking flower like I just heard one with our good friend now, Gordon Ross. It's very important that we do track and find out what strains are working. I've got scoliosis also and some spinal issues too outside of all my other issues. So I don't know if the strain White Russian is going to work for Terry Ryan, but we do share a lot of the traumatic brain injuries and different things that, from our experiences from being hit or the impacts from the long-term effects from fighting. We don't know yet. But at the end of the day, it's very important. So that's where I'm going to be there. But I'm also going to be on the advocacy side, and we're in court right now against our federal government of Canada and our Attorney General of Ontario, the Hamilton Police, the City of Hamilton. We've got Jack Lloyd as our lawyer. He's probably the most renowned cannabis lawyer and globally. He's represented the Emerys, all the high-profile patient cases that led to recreational legalization. But this is a medical case. This is a full-out access and affordability for those that are on government disability support programs. So like myself, right now, I do know that eventually I think I can transition back to the open labor market and work. I found a job, potentially where people do understand that I am in pain, that I am sick, but I can do work from home and I can pick up the phone and I can educate and do things. So there's a lot there for those who are struggling too and trying to find former athletes, other positions, whether it's speaking and getting involved. So, and patients too, right, to come off of these disability support programs. But if we don't have medical cannabis coverage in Canada, but we have opiates that are covered, that's what's got to stop, TR. We can't have that going on right now in the middle of an opiate crisis, right? I know that if I could afford the right amount of oils or flowers, that I would take less opiates. So why wouldn't I fight? So when you say 5 years from now, when we do talk, we will talk before then, obviously, but I hope that fight's done with. And so that's what I'm all about too. I'm actually fighting for those that are in need right now today.
Well, I know one thing. By that time, you will have been in Senior's basement. I don't know when, but you're going to be. And you keep in touch with me because I come to Toronto 3 or 4 times a year anyway for other types of work and whatnot. And we're going to get together the next time I do. Just for many reasons, I think your whole cause is intriguing. Plus, I want you to hook me up with some good weed. And listen,
that's a tough one right now. Yeah, I don't get any free ones, but we might be able to go out to Ryan Vandenbush's farm there. Bushy's got a farm out in Simcoe.
I would love
if
to.
you're down this way, I'd love to set up a tour for you too.
I would absolutely love to. Bushy, I partied with a few times, and he hit me with one of the hardest punches I've ever been hit with. Nothing came of it, but it was just boom, just a lefty right in center ice in Chicago. And we were in the penalty box, and he talked me through it. He goes, I go, what? Bushy, I just fought you, didn't I?
You took a chipper uppercut.
Yeah.
You took a chipper uppercut. You're still talking. So you know what? That's good. That's good. We love them.
Well, look, and for those out there going through the same thing, there's lots of hockey players. I'm easily contactable. Robbie, what are you on Instagram? What's your profile or your?
Yeah, no, you can get a hold of me on Instagram at RobFrid44 at RobFrid44. I'm also Rob Frid directly on Facebook too, so I use those both. Also, Medicinal My Way. We're on all social media at Medicinal My Way, and www.medicinalmyway.ca. So you can get a hold of us there. And Athletes for Care. You know, we've got Mike Tyson, we've got Frank Shamrock, Jim McMahon, Riley Cote, Ryan Vandenbush. We've got a lot of some high-profile athletes that are fighting for some of us that, you know, aren't in breaking down those stigmas and really digging deep and us all working together to heal together, too. So you can visit us at A4C at www.athletes4care, so it's spelled FORCARE.org. So, yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Anybody reach out to me, any support that you need, any former player, doesn't matter. Yeah, talking to Nathan Parrott.
Good friend of mine.
Right? So, talking to Kevin McClellan yesterday, right? So, even trying to support Billy Tibbetts is in a lot of trouble, too. Former London Knight. Played some games in New York and Pittsburgh.
He played 10 in Tri-Cities. Former Tri-City American. I played with Billy for a little bit, and then he found his way to the OHL right after that.
He was in London with Gordy and I. Yes. I had to leave because he had a court case young. So that's another whole other situation and topic. But you know what? Billy is suffering from some post-traumatic stress disorder and a lot of other things. He's in jail right now. So there's a lot of his cases that I do know and at a higher level because I have been friends with him and a former teammate. So, yeah, we're trying to support him right now.
Well, listen,
so it's all good.
Robbie, your continued support and your courageous stance as one of the first people coming out and admitting that you had suicidal thoughts, admitting that you did some heavy drugs, admitting that you were in a bad place and weren't making much money. Those are things that people in our case got. If it happened, the more people come out like you, the more awareness. The more it just seems, I remember, being kind of worried to come out and admit some of those things, but the more normal we make it, because it's normal for anybody, let alone people with head injuries, then, the more people will talk about it and the more awareness is brought to the fact. And that's why I love you and that's why I appreciate everything you're doing. But I'm going to leave you. Each one of us has a question on a lighter note, a quick one. Give me who's the best player you ever played against or the most creative, whatever, the most memorable?
Ooh, that is a good question. Probably the best that I ever played against, and I was very fortunate to play with, too, was Kevin Brown. I don't know if you know too much about Brownie, but Kevin Brown, Troy Junior Red Wings. I ended up playing with him in Anchorage when he was coming out of a situation there in England. But, yeah, Brownie was just, like a Todd Bertuzzi type man back when we played, but with a higher skill set, and you just couldn't stop him when he wanted to go.
That's a fantastic answer.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But I skated with Brett Hall and some other guys, too, But at the end of the day, yeah, when
Kevin
Tara
Brown's
and
underrated,
whatever,
though. He's underrated, and he could really play. That's a good answer. Go ahead, boys. Do you have a question?
Who are you most excited to watch? It's Chuck here. Who are you most excited to watch this upcoming season?
Yeah, I got to go with my Toronto Maple Leafs, right?
Yeah.
I just like Brendan Shanahan. I go back way back when I played with the Knights, and Shannon used to come into the room and always looked up to him too, and tried to model my game after him. But I never had the skill set, so I would have to say with the Leafs and what they're doing now, we do need a little bit of grit. And I'm hoping maybe they'll sign my buddy there, Zach Ronaldo, free agent out of Hamilton. But you know how the game's changed too. So
Yeah.
But I hope, I'd love to see Zach, get out there and bang some bodies. And I still think fighting has its place in our game. We got to keep things in check too, right? But whatever, just not maybe at the OHL level right now. That's your question answered.
All right, mine is and I'm still stalled on this cottonmouth thing. So my question is, of all the different teams that you played for, what was your favorite uniform you put on?
Nice.
Yeah, favorite uniforms got to be for sure. Got to be the Columbus Cottonmouth. I thought, or maybe a Quad City Mallard, a Ducks. But yeah, that's a very tough question. I actually put on the worst uniform I think of all time and voted too in the East Coast Hockey League, and that was the Louisville River Frog uniform. But yeah, I have to say I like their snakes numbers and how they put them on, and I had a triple goalie jersey too, so guys couldn't grab onto me.
I often talk about that. People forget the tough guys used to wear the goalie cuts, man.
It wasn't that big, but yeah, it was bigger than what I was used to.
Well, listen, thanks a lot for your time. A really ballsy guy and teammate to the end. Way to go, everything you're doing. Good luck. And we'll talk to you soon, Robbie, and much appreciated again. And good luck to yourself and Gord and everybody in your neck of the woods, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you guys for having me on board and bringing Gordy in too. And one love to all of you guys, and keep it up. I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thanks,
All
Rob.
right, thanks, Rob.
Okay, buddy. Penny Posh, maternity wear reimagined, breaking the barriers of style, fit, and comfort that often leave mothers-to-be uninspired in their new wardrobe. Penny Posh's designs have reinvented a clothing category often seen as disposable, temporary, and unattractive. Well, not with Penny Posh. Check it out. A continuous fit maternity collection from bump to bundle and beyond. You can check them out on Twitter at Penny_Posh, on Instagram at PennyPosh_maternity, and of course on their website, www.pennyposhdesigns.com. Penny Posh Designs, maternity wear reimagined.
A huge thanks again to Rob for hopping on and talking to us. It's super interesting to chat to him and get to talk to him about everything that he's doing and all that stuff. It's certainly a really interesting story and something we want to follow up on and keep in touch with him over the while because yeah, it's a great dude with a lot of good stuff to say.
Yeah, Rob,
sure.
Guys, before we get into it there, people should know, I want them, I know I said it during the interview, but really give this guy a chance and listen, he's not quite, Rob came from a tough area, he's a decent player, but he's had some head trauma and has, it was affecting him personally. He didn't really say much about it. I heard about it in the 2000s, but he did, just from friends. He didn't say much. In the last few years, he's really come out with some juicy tidbits, with some excellent knowledge and help on the subject. He's not afraid to talk about anything, and he helps a lot of people in hockey one day at a time, and he's chucking along. He's doing a lot better now than he was a few years ago. I know
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
there was some national attention to his problem, which I hate to say problem, but it's a problem. It's a problem when you get out of hockey and you can't find yourself, and you've had some head trauma, and you don't know what's causing it. And now, on top of other things, and he's fighting to get guys that played back then, in better spirits, but to get paid, but what they deserve. But it's his advocacy here for the cause and for marijuana. And a lot of people will turn off. Well, I'm not listening to that. It's drugs or whatever. Look, I'm telling you from firsthand experience. CBD, for example. I mean, it doesn't do what you think. It's more for pain. And it helps for anxiety and depression. You don't even know you took it. It doesn't get you stoned. Not that that's a bad thing either. THC helps in a lot of ways. Just there's a whole lot to learn. not just about marijuana, but about the head, about being a teammate, about dealing with transitions in life, not just hockey. And I hope that people will listen to Rob with open ears, because he's been through a tough time in his life and couldn't be any more positive with his situation now, and helps people out every day. So we're thankful to have him.
And yeah, it was a great interview, great chance to talk to him, great chance to talk to his good buddy Gord Ross, who hopped on the phone there for a minute with us. And Gord and Rob actually have like a really cool stat. When they played together for London, they actually put up, I think they were top 2 guys on the team in penalty minutes. Like, I think Gord might have broke 200, or like in the 190s, Rob had like 150. No one else was close to either of them. So, Gord is somebody who we might have to get his number from Rob and get him back on the show sometime soon.
True enough.
Yeah. So you've got your ball hockey stuff coming up again. We were talking about it a few weeks back, but it's getting closer. You got practice tonight, so you're all set to go?
That's it. We're hosting the national championship. It's moved venues. We're at the Glacier still, but the other rink's going to be the Ghouls, which at first I thought about it, and I'm like, oh, fuck, you got to go all the way out there. But which, for those that don't know, it's on the outskirts. But it is a decent little rink, and you know what? It's smaller, so it feels packed.
Yeah.
I do think it's a nice second rink. The Glacier's, got a big, I think a Glacier holds maybe 2,000. Ghouls maybe 500. But for a national tournament, and for the odd game to be out there, I think it'll be good. It'll have there'll be a lot of fans into it. I'm excited. We're hosting the Open Division. We're hosting the Masters Division, and there's also female division. So this is going to be great. And Newfoundland is a decent team in all 3. For those that want to come watch, just look online. Look cbha.com, Canadian Ball Hockey Association. That'll have the schedule coming up, and we got a great bunch of teams representing Newfoundland. And we have hosts in each of those divisions, so there's going to be 6 teams overall. I should remember that. I forget because we're not practicing with them, but those the hosts are pretty good too. They're all decent ball hockey and ice hockey players.
So how many teams do we have?
2 in each division.
2 in each division.
A host
no, I mean like
champion.
in total. Like how many teams are coming in for the tournament?
Oh, there will be in all 3. There's like 8. There's 8 in the Masters and 12 in the regular, and then however many in the female. Upwards of 30.
That's fantastic.
There'll be 30 teams.
And 6 of them are local, but everything else is coming in from away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be a great week of hockey.
It's going to be a big week.
Should be, and a lot of ice hockey players. Danik Martel, for example, plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He plays for Quebec, and then we have that's a long story who he plays for, but he played for Quebec. Now he gets picked up. They didn't send a representative, but he's a great player. And for Newfoundland, we have Zach O'Brien, we have Marcus Power, we have Jordan Escott. I can go down the list of senior fans, Danny Wicks, Jordan Marr, Q fans. Jordan's the first year, just played on Team Canada, unreal. I could go down the list. We have a fantastic team with Newfoundland in the Open Division and in the men's in the Masters Division. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. It should be interesting.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get out and check out some games. Maybe we, who knows? Maybe if I decide I don't have enough to do, I'll come and set up the fucking computer, and we'll do another live stream.
Hey, why not? Ryan Dixon is coming from the Hockey News actually to do a story on Newfoundland ball hockey and all that stuff, which I often talk about it, but it is a different spot. Like they're going to be selling tickets to this. When I say ball hockey, again, a lot of people out there that aren't from a place that plays it think I'm talking about street hockey, but I'm not. It's just kind of the same rules as ice hockey, minus the fighting, hitting, and it's a floating blue line. Look into that. But it'll be without me trying to explain
I can't imagine playing floating blue line on a full-size rink.
So that's what happens. Floating blue line, just so those who don't know, once you gain the blue line, it's a regular offsides rule, but once you gain the blue line, now you can take the ball back to the red line. So the offensive zone spreads out, and it's real hard to play defense in that situation because you can't glide. It's much harder than ice hockey.
And I mean, the only time I've ever played it that way was when, like, you play St. Bon's, which for anybody who doesn't know is like a smaller rink here. I mean, it used to be they played herders there. It was a full size rink, but now it's a much smaller surface, and so that's the only place like playing ice hockey that I've ever done floating blue line.
Well, wait till you see a guy like Zach O'Brien play. In this set of circumstances. I mean,
you got a lot more real estate.
Our 5'6" defensemen, like we got Adam Hallwell last year, won the Memorial Cup, starred at St. Evex this year. I mean, he's one of our, when I say last, I just mean he's new, and we got Patty O'Keefe, for example, is one of the best in the world. He has been for a while. We've just got Cody Donaghy. We talked about Cody playing in Orlando. These are our players on our team, on our ball hockey team. It's great, and like I said, here we get fans. So like people might laugh, I think it's $5 to get in, but these places will be sold out for the most part. They love it here. Like I've often said, Newfoundland has a chance to win. When you are normally at a national championship, in my experience, soccer, baseball, ball, hockey, growing up, we would play the host team first, so they get a win, and everybody's happy, gets a free fucking hot dog. They get to go home happy, but it's not the case. In 4 that I can think of, in ball hockey, in rugby, in fast pitch softball, and in curling, and there might be others, anomaly years or whatever, but as a rule, those sports, we have a chance to win, and they will come watch. So I fully expect the fans to be behind us. The last time we hosted this in 2010, we won the national championship. There was no Masters then, but we had an open division, and what a team we had. Teddy Purcell and Adam Party played on it. That's the only organized, like, I guess, official team that I've ever played with Teddy on. It was an honor to play with him and Andrew Sweetland on the same line. He's another great hockey player. Andrew played 3 years in the American Hockey League. But I'm rambling. It should be good. And for 2010 was one of the most exciting tournaments I've ever played, and I expect it to be all that and more. So come watch, August 6th to the 11th, Glacier and the Goulds, Newfoundland.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it getting out for a few days, too. It's going to be good.
If you're out the Goulds, get a fish and chip at Keith's, boy.
Got to. If you're going to be at the Goulds anyway,
Yeah,
unless you got to run around playing ball hockey.
I'd find a way.
No.
I'd find a way.
I don't know. Keith's is kind of heavy if you're running around with with a
game.
floating blue line. But
have it my stall after the blue line, a 2-piece up where my gloves go.
Keith's is worth it. If anything it's Keith's. It's so good. That sounds like fun. It's gonna be a great week. I'm actually pumped. I've got a game tonight. It's my first time playing in net in like months. Right, I haven't played since I cracked a rib that time. So hopping in net tonight for the first time in like 3 or 4 months. So that's gonna be terrible. I'll
tune in next week where Mike gives us his stat line.
It's not gonna be pretty.
Where Ralph has gone to the dogs.
But until then, when we come back, Chuck, you got anything? You do anything fun? No? Okay. Never?
I spend a lot of time in the woods since there's no hockey now. That's what I do. That's what happens when hockey goes off. You'll see me around rambling, beard's longer than it's ever been, asking what year it is, how many days until the puck drops.
Well, on that, we'll push it off till next week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And a huge congrats, by the way, we were talking about it before the thing went up. Huge congrats to everybody who ran the Telly 10, the road race yesterday. It's a huge feat to run 10 miles. Congrats to everybody who did that, except Steve. Anyway, we'll be back next week to chat at you more about hockey. Until then, you can find me at Hickey, Mike.
I'm at Smokes and Doors.
Oh, I'm at Terry Ryan 2020 on Instagram, Terry Ryan 20 on Twitter.
And we are at 3MI Podcast everywhere. You can find us. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll be back at you next week to shout at you about hockey.
The worst crowd, the worst crowd, the worst crowd.